guest is already here. Is Mr. Randolph Dubayu. And of course, he's here basically for us to look into, look into the speech delivered at the 77th regular session of the United Nations in General Assembly by His Excellency Dr. George Manawia. Let me welcome you in this fashion. Good morning.
Good morning, Saba, and good morning to the listening audience.
It seems that you're okay. Yes, okay, fine.
Okay, yeah, good morning, Saba, and good morning to the listening audience.
Okay. I know. How was the weekend first?
Well, the weekend has been little challenging for me because the president's birthday is exactly 5 days from now on. And I'm the chair on the steering committee for the president's birthday. So we've been mobilizing, we've been galvanizing and setting the stage, and also preparing for the president's arrival today at 3 p.m. So it was never a lazy weekend. It has been a working weekend, and the rain was everywhere. It was predicted on the app, the weather bulb app. So it was a wet weekend. We were edging towards October, so September tried to conclude with a lot of rain. So it was a working weekend. It was an active weekend, but it's also a healthy weekend.
Okay, basically we're invited to you so that we look at the speech delivered by His Excellency Dr. George Manawia. First, let me get your overall analysis. How do you describe the way His Excellency really delivered his speech, talking about his comportment, talking about his countenance on his face, and his position as well?
One word, his speech was excellent.
Okay.
He had control. His body language says what he was. It could tell what he was saying, because there was no disconnect between what he was saying and what his body was saying. There are times where the body is saying something different, and you are reading something different. You could see that the president was in his message. He had control over his message. You could see that he connected himself with the message. He had absolute stage control. In public speaking, when you're talking and you have no sense of what you're saying, you can see it radiating from your body language. The body speaks like the same way you would speak with your voice. That's how the body speaks. So what I saw in the president is excellent, is control, is authority. It's a humble and pragmatic speech that he delivered. And it was just outstanding and excellent.
Did you see any semblance of confidence on the face of the president and the way also he addressed the United Nations?
Yeah, as a control, you cannot be in control if you have no confidence.
Okay.
So the confidence is embedded within the control he had. You could see when he mounted the podium, he was talking like your everyday conversation, talking with your colleagues. So it was just normal, and you could see how everything flow out. And the speech was 15 minutes, but it appeared like 5 minutes to me, because the president just didn't need to stop. You could find the coherence, you could find the logic, and everything just came on. I think it's an A+.
Okay, so let's take let's hear from the president briefly.
Regional conferences of the Mana River Union and the ECOWAS, which have been called to discuss efforts to restore democracy in the few troubled spots in our West African region. Liberia has constantly and consistently pleaded for a strict adherence to constitutional terms limits and for a return to democratic civilian rule in cases of military takeover.
Okay, now you just heard the president, and he said we've consistently he has spoken about he has spoken to his colleagues rather, trying to encourage them to ensure that they live up to constitutional term limits, and that to carry on any sort of subversion which has not been good for the region as a whole.
Yes, so it's very clear. That was captured on democratic gains. The president, he had a lot of thematic errors, right? He talked about the global challenges the world is facing, COVID, and he talked about the war in Ukraine, talk about the plan of development country. He talked about youth empowerment, which is the social economic empowerment of disadvantaged youth. He talked about climate change and democratic gains. The statement you just made is captured on democratic gains, because what we did was to characterize the president's speech into subject and thematic areas. So when he talks about our regional instability and concern about military takeover, military junta in our region, it's captured on a democratic gain. It captured on a constitutional term limit. What the people elect you, the people are the custodian of power. They give you a constitutional term limit when that time elapsed. You have to walk away, someone shut the door. You know, the same way someone shut the door and walk out. Yet when your term ends, shut the door and walk out. So the president, we are in this region, the MR, the Mana River Union. What happens in Guinea, we are interconnected. We have inter-family relationship, right? We have common border. We have common water basin. We share a similar mountain or pathway. I mean, they are basically the same. So what happens in Guinea affects us Liberian, because we are cross-boundary citizens around here. So the president's statement, you could see that he is somebody who have come with that half democratic credential. He doesn't want to exceed his constitutional time limit, and that was manifested in the fact that in 2020 during the by-elections, it was a referendum. The president wanted to reduce the term limit even from 6 to 5. He went to the legislature. He said, "I want to remain here for 4 years instead of 12 years."
12 years.
It was the legislature that recommended 5 years term limit. If he has that, there were people who went and campaigned against the proponent that the constitutional term limit of the president should be 5 years. So the president knows that democratically the people are the custodian of power. They must give you the power. They must give you that authority. When they give you the power and authority, it becomes legitimate. That legitimacy authorizes you to lead. And when you are leading the people, they are obliged to help. But when the power do not come from their ambient, if it is your, then it becomes detrimental and you have to face your own burden. That is what the president said. Presidents around the world, he has consistently pleaded with his colleagues from day one. The first day of his address to the UN, he has been consistent. So, I mean, it just makes me feel happy as a Liberian.
What does it speak of this president? Especially, it's rare to hear, African leader, talking about let's stick to our constitutional term limit and not to do anything contrary to, what the Constitution provides. What does it speak about this?
It speaks that he is a bearer of democratic tenets. He understands democracy to the core. Because democracy is government for the people, by the people, with the people, and everything has to do with people. So he believes democracy to the zenith. So he's a pragmatic character who lives with democracy, who preaches democracy, who wants democracy everywhere in the world. That is how I can describe this president. So for other Africans leaders out there, I'm told there were a lot of sanctions on our neighbor Guinea. ECOWAS has imposed a lot of sanctions on all of the leaders because they do not want to adhere to the tenets of democracy. So the president is simply saying, let live as Democrat, let live in harmony, let live in the circumference of the law. And that is exactly what he's been doing since in Kenya Liberia. Honor those tenets. He has never had any political prisoner. He talked about it. Honor these tenets of democracy. He has decriminalized free speech because these are the externalities, the negative externality of somebody who's a dictator, right? If you want to be in power continuously, if you do not want to adhere to the tenets of democracy, you're going to coerce people on what they say. You do not want alternative views. Because this president believes in democracy, because this president wants to live in the circumference of democracy, he has decriminalized the issue of speech. You know about the Abdullah Kamara law. So this is what the president has spoken to. Everywhere in this country, you have opposition radio station. They say what they want to say. They do what they want to do. They have all the talk show. Nobody run behind it. You have opposition leader who sometimes they go outside the means and bounds of politics.
They denigrate the president.
Denigrate everything. He says nothing today. He gives them water whenever they go protest. You saw what happened recently with the student protest.
Sure.
He provided water. You saw what happened in June 7. The president provided water and food to protesters. These are the tenets of democracy. These are what the president preached when he goes to his colleagues. So they are all real, they are pragmatic. You can see how humble he is. He doesn't say what he doesn't know. He knows what he says and says what he knows.
Now, the president, the statement he made and he continues to make when he goes through the sort of regional meeting, have set him, apart from the way all African leaders sometimes think about, trying to perpetuate themselves. Do you think, what the president continues to advise his colleagues is resonating in the region?
It is resonating. We have about 16 countries in West Africa. Out of the 16, it is just in 2 of those countries you see military uprising. Like I think Mali has some issues, and then Guinea. So it's resonating. And I think Burkina Faso, there's a little issue in Burkina Faso. So it's resonating among his colleagues. So sometimes it's not about what people do; it's about what you believe, and you do not change how people behave. You can change how you behave.
Surely.
It's not about what they believe, it's about what the president believes. Sometimes it's not about what there was a time where this guy called Galileo Galilei, he was a scientist, right? There was a time where during the era of Eurocentrism, where the people believed that the F, it was a philosophy, they did not believe that it was wrong. So it was forbidden then for you to go against the Pope. That time there was a theory called the theory of Papal infallibility, where there was a belief that the Pope was infallible, and anything that he said, you have to agree. Galileo Galilei, being an astronomer, he was a scientist who knew that the Earth was wrong. He was the only person who
had a different view.
He had a different view. But when they called him, he said, "You are the one who said that the Earth is round and it's not flat." Because he wanted to live, he prosecuted and said the Earth is flat. But when the king left and he was going, he turned around, he said the Earth is round. Because he could not betray his conscience.
Surely.
And today everyone has lived and believed that the Earth is round, it's a globe. So sometimes what everyone may believe might not be the reality. So your question, whether it is resonating, sometimes some people can choose to just blatantly refuse to accept the fact. But the president has been consistent with what he says because he believes in what he says. So regardless of whether it is resonating or not, I know it is resonating. Even if it were not resonating, he believes that what he's saying is right. And obviously
And he's speaking his conscience.
He's speaking his conscience.
Okay, let's listen to the president again.
If we must advance common good of humanity, the implementation of the 2030 Agenda and the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals, then international cooperation must be given primacy, and the principles of solidarity must have its rightful place. We have the platform to generate the transformative solutions we seek. The world is watching. Our people are watching. And we must now seize the moment, confront the challenges, and collectively endeavor to lift the poor from poverty and hunger, sickness and disease, and ensure progress, development, and prosperity for all. At the same time, we must protect our planet, guarantee and maintain global peace, security, and stability.
That was exactly to his colleagues at the UN, asking them to look. We must ensure that we protect the environment, protect the climate, and all of that.
Yeah, at that point,
it wasn't exactly to where he was talking about climate. I think we're going to get it.
Yeah, we'll get it.
At that point, when he talk about international cooperation and solidarity, and he talking about peace and talking about living people out of poverty, he was talking to the situation about Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about we cannot live as one war and then we have other people suffering, we have other people in poverty, women and children are dying in places like Ukraine in broad day. In this time and era, you have invasion ongoing. That was where he was talking about you cannot have electricity 24 hours in order to not have electricity. That is what was being implied. International cooperation and solidarity, right? Ensuring that nobody is in poverty. And that is in direct conjunction with his pro-poor agenda for prosperity and development, where everybody have to live in harmony. Everybody have to live with peace and prosperity. That peace and prosperity cannot foster when you have other people in Ukraine dying. That was what the president meant. The international community needs to be much more robust. That was his implied statement. We have to live consistent with the Sustainable Development Goal. The Sustainable Development Goal, the SDG, they have to be achieved. Hunger, zero hunger, right? We talk about protecting our earth, right? We talking about, doing everything, protecting our earth in that context is about how we live, our appetite for consumption, our economic style, right? The way we produce food, it alter the integrity of the earth, it alter the integrity of the planet, and it has corresponding effect on flora and fauna, on plants and animals. Okay. So the president's statement in that was extremely international, and he calls for international cooperation and solidarity. You cannot go to bed laughing, pleasing with food and everything, and others are dying. He believes that like we were staying with the people of Ukraine, and he has denounced all form of invasion, and that he believes the people of Ukraine have the right to live in harmony and peace, stability, like any other leader that was rep on his voice. And I think the president was right. In this modern world, as Christians, as people who believe in the supreme spirit, as everyone there, one way or the other, if you're not Christian, you believe in God. Do unto others as you have them done unto you. So we must live and say what we do and do what we say. That was the fundamental essence of the United Nations. In 1945, after the League of Nations failed, after the League of Nations did not achieve its fundamental objective, after the war continued to permeate, after the invasion of Poland by Germany, because those were some of the causes that made America to join World War I and World War II. The invasion of Poland, Germany, and the killing of the Serbian student by Adu von Ferdinand. So those were fundamental reasons why the UN was funded. So after 77 years, these things still continue to permeate. Then the UN has to muster its courage to do more. We should not be talking about war and invasion in this modern time in Iraq. If war and invasion continues to come about, then the fundamental principles on which the UN was funded has not been reached. That was the president's exact statement when he talked about international cooperation and solidarity.
Now, does it also show his disapproval for what is happening in Ukraine?
It was clear, it was unambiguous, it was bold, it was extremely candid and splendid to the point. The president does not support war. Even in his country where war was fighting, he did not support war. He has always been a constant denouncer of war. He has always denounced invasion. He always wants people to have a happy and convenient space to live. He has categorically, in factual terms, denounced the war in Ukraine, and he stands with the people of Ukraine. He has put Liberia on the side of the people of Ukraine because he knows the externality of war. He knows what war does. People get raped. The prostitution is sometimes suspended. There's hooliganism. People do not live in the space of the law, and people live outside the circumference of law, which is not good for human existence. So clearly and unambiguously, the president stands with the people of Ukraine. He believes that the international community must consistently check out the principle of international solidarity and cooperation.
Now, initially we played a tape where the president, reminded his colleagues in the region to ensure that they live up to their constitutional mandate, and that to circumvent the constitution in any way. And again, we just played this tape where the president drew the attention of his colleagues to what is happening in Ukraine. That's a show consistency on his part.
Beyond consistency, it shows authority. It shows confidence. It shows that the president is concise in what he says and says and says exactly what is concise. So you saw on the regional level, he was talking about, because in his region, he tried to make it right, because you cannot tell somebody coal is in your eyes when your eye is dirty.
Surely.
So he dealt with it from the regional perspective. He talks about the issue about going against militarism, junta, coup d'etat. All of these things were embedded into that statement when he was talking about sticking to constitutional term limit. Now, when he goes outside the region, he saw the consistency, he saw the flow of everything he wanted to. So I said that the president's speech was excellent. It was crafted, well written. It was inclusive of the real issue happening in Liberia, in our region, in the world at large.
Let's listen to the president once again.
Sustainable development can take place only in a